told me not to go into the forest, not because it was dangerous, not because of wolves or cliffs or the cold. They said the forest remembers. It remembers everyone who enters. And if it remembers you too well, it might not let you go. I didn't believe them, but I believe them now. 15 years ago, my brother disappeared. No body, no signs of struggle, just gone. One day we were building a tree fort in the woods behind Grandma's house. The next, I woke up alone. I told them I heard him calling me from deeper in the woods, his voice soft and far away, like it was coming through water. Then silence. Then the birds stopped singing. That was the last time I saw him. We were kids. I was 9. He was 11. They said I imagined it, that I'd fallen asleep in the sun and dreamed the whole thing. But something in the trees had changed that day. I could feel it, and I never went back. Until last week. Grandma died in her sleep, alone in that same old cabin at the edge of the forest. I hadn't been there in over a decade. When I returned for the funeral, the place looked exactly the same, like time had stalled. The walls still smelled like cedar and old soup. The floorboards still creaked in the same order. And outside, the forest still waited, still breathing. People in the village won't talk about it. They avoid it like a living thing. One man, Mr. Dragon, who used to sell bait and bullets in the corner store, pulled me aside after the service. He looked at me like he hadn't seen a ghost, but had remembered one. "You don't belong here," he said. "The woods remember you. You stirred it." "What do you mean?" He just shook his head. "You'll see. Just don't go looking for what you lost. It might come looking for you." I didn't sleep that night. That's when the dreams started. I was walking through trees I didn't recognize, but somehow knew. The branches overhead twisted like arms, and the leaves whispered. And I could hear my brother, older now, humming a song we used to sing when we were kids. But it was wrong, slower, off-key, like he didn't remember the melody anymore. When I woke up, my shoes were wet, covered in pine needles. I told myself it was sleepwalking. I'd read that stress can make people do strange things in their sleep. But the way the laces were tied, double knotted, the way he used to tie them for me, I hadn't done that in years. And the pine needles, they weren't just on my shoes. There were small clumps on the floor beside my bed, like I'd been standing there for a while, watching myself sleep. That morning, I found the first one. A figure, carved into the bark of the birch tree outside the cabin. It was small, maybe the size of my palm. Crudely scratched into the wood, a stick figure with long limbs, no face. But where the heart should be, someone had dug deep. A hole. Black. Empty. I ran my fingers over it. The bark was fresh. Whatever made it did so recently. And when I turned to go back inside, I heard it. Footsteps. Crunching leaves behind me. Slow. Deliberate. But when I spun around, the woods were still. Silent. Too silent. That night, I went through my grandmother's journals. She was a private woman, but I remembered her always scribbling things in worn leather notebooks. I found them in a drawer under her bed, dozens of them, all dated. The one from the year my brother vanished had a page torn out. But in the next book, one entry stood out. He's still here. I see him sometimes, standing by the ash tree, watching the house. He doesn't age. I tried talking to him once. But it wasn't him. It wore his face, but it wasn't him. The forest has him now. Maybe it always did. I don't remember grabbing the flashlight. I don't remember putting on my coat or walking outside. But suddenly, I was standing at the edge of the woods, breath fogging in the cold air, staring into that thick black nothing between the trees. I told myself I'd just go a few steps in, just enough to prove to myself that it was just grief, just nightmares, just trauma. I stepped in. It was like stepping into another world. The light from the house disappeared faster than it should have. The cold wrapped around me like wet cloth. My flashlight flickered once, then steadied. And then I saw them. Ribbons, tied around branches, red ones. Old, faded. But I remembered them. My brother and I used to leave them on trees to find our way back during hide and seek. But we never went that deep, never past the stone boundary. And yet here they were, leading me forward. The forest was quiet, no wind, no birds, not even the sound of my footsteps, just a damp stillness, like the air was holding its breath. Then I heard it, the humming, faint, like from underwater. That same off-key tune from my dream. I followed it. Through brambles, past dead trees that looked like they had been clawed at from the inside. The ribbons led me to a clearing I didn't remember, and in the middle stood the ash tree. Tall, ancient, black bark splitting like scars. And under it someone stood. He had his back to me. Same hoodie my brother wore the day he vanished, navy blue with the white stripe. Same messy hair. I opened my mouth. I wanted to say his name, but something in me, some primal part, told me not to. Instead, I whispered, "Eli." The figure turned, but only halfway. Enough that I could see his face in profile. It looked like him, but the eyes, they were wrong. Too black, too deep. And when he smiled, it wasn't relief. It was recognition, like he'd been waiting. He didn't speak, just raised one hand and pointed behind me. I turned. There were more figures, standing between the trees, dozens of them, silent, unmoving, each one carved into the bark of a different tree, like the one I'd found that morning. But these weren't symbols. These were people, faces I recognized. The old postman, a boy from school, even Grandma, each one staring at me. And every tree they were carved into was bleeding. I should have run. Everything in my body screamed at me to move. But I couldn't. The trees were watching. And I don't mean that figuratively. I felt it. Their presence. Heavy. Like the forest was a single organism, and I had just walked into its heart. And it knew me. I backed away, but the ground didn't feel right. Software too soft. I looked down and saw what I thought were roots. But no. Fingers. Pale, half buried in the soil. Some small, like children's hands. Some twisted. Frozen in a final grasp, just beneath the surface. The figure under the ash tree was still pointing. Waiting. The humming had stopped. Something had changed. When I turned again, the forest was different. No more ribbons, no more path. And the trees, they had moved. I swear to God they had moved. The shapes, the spaces between them. It was like the forest was rearranging itself around me, like a maze that breathed. I ran, not toward anything, just away. But the more I ran, the more the forest stretched. Branches reached for me. Roots caught my feet. I stumbled, fell. The flashlight skidded across the moss and died. I was swallowed by black. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I woke up, everything was still. Except the sky. It wasn't night, but it wasn't day either. It was that strange, colorless twilight you see in dreams, soft and directionless. A light that doesn't cast shadows, a time that doesn't tick. And the forest was whispering, not wind, not animals, whispers, human voices, overlapping, echoing, too many to understand. but one stood out. Lena, my name, whispered directly into my left ear, though no one was near me. I spun around. Nothing. But at my feet was something I hadn't seen before. A child's drawing, pinned to the ground with an old, rusted fork. The paper was damp and torn, but I could still make it out. 2 stick figures. A boy and a girl holding hands, and behind them, tall black trees with eyes. It was ours. We drew that the summer before he vanished. I remember because I cried after he made the trees look so mean. He told me they were protectors, guardians. But the drawing now, the trees weren't guarding us. They were surrounding us. I picked it up and heard footsteps, behind me, not heavy, barefoot. I turned slowly and there he was again, Eli, or whatever wore his skin. But now I could see his face fully. It looked like him, and didn't. Like a painting of his face drawn by someone who only half remembered it. The proportions were just off, like he'd been rebuilt from a memory, and not a good one. And his voice. "You came back," he said, but his mouth didn't move in sync. "I waited so long. What happened to you?" I whispered. His head tilted. I remembered. So the forest kept me. You forgot, so it let you go. What are you talking about? He took a step forward. The forest doesn't take people. It keeps memories. That's what it feeds on, what it lives on. He reached out and touched my forehead with one cold finger. My skull rang with something. A memory. One I didn't remember having. We were running through the forest, him and I, as kids, laughing, screaming. Then, a fall. I remember. I pushed him, not out of malice, just a game. But he didn't get up. He hit his head. I panicked. I ran, and when I told him he'd vanished, I lied. The forest didn't take him. I left him. I collapsed to my knees. The memory hit like a wave, too fast, too deep. "No," I whispered. That's not how it happened." The thing smiled. "Truth doesn't matter here. Only memory." The whispering in the forest rose to a scream, and all around me the trees began to twist, reshaping into forms, faces, people I'd forgotten, a teacher who died in a fire, a dog I lost as a child. My father, younger than I ever knew him, all watching, all waiting. Then the forest spoke. Not through words, but through knowing. I felt it. The forest doesn't kill. It collects memories, regrets, fragments of the people we were. And if you forget something inside it, it keeps it. Forever. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was walking, not of my own will. My feet moved, but not for me. Eli was ahead of me, gliding between trees like he belonged there, like the forest was his now. Maybe it was. He didn't look back. He didn't have to. The forest guided me, like it had been waiting for this moment. We came to a pond, still, black as ink. Its surface reflected nothing. Not the trees, not the sky, not us. Just a flat, glass-like void. "This is where I remembered," he said. His voice echoed, but the air around him didn't move. "The moment you forgot. The moment I became something else." I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. There were no words, only guilt. "You can take it back," he whispered. That stopped me cold. "What?" He turned slowly. "The memory, the forgetting, all of it. The forest doesn't want you. It wants your truth. Give it what you took, and it will let you go." "But what happens to you?" He smiled, and this time I saw the pain in it. "I've already been given." The pond bubbled. Slowly something began to rise from beneath the surface. Not a hand, not a figure, but a mirror. Shimmering, wet, standing upright in the water, as if nailed to the bottom of the earth. In its reflection, I saw myself, but not as I am now. As I was then, 9 years old, dirty face, eyes wild with fear, holding a rock. The image flickered, then showed Eli, lying still, bleeding, then the forest, closing in. I screamed, "Stop! I didn't mean to!" The mirror shattered, but no sound came, just silence, deep and final. Eli, or what remained of him, stepped forward and placed something cold in my hand. A ribbon, frayed, red, the last one we'd ever tied. "If you carry it," he said, "the forest will remember you, but it will let you go. You'll walk out. Why help me?" His smile faded. "Because part of me still hopes that you'll remember me right next time." And then he stepped backward into the trees and disappeared. I walked, I don't know for how long, hours, days. Time twisted around me like vines, but the trees slowly changed, no longer watching, no longer whispering, just still. Eventually, I saw light, the cabin, smoke curling from the chimney, a figure on the porch, Grandma. She waved. I ran to her, cried in her arms, told her everything. She just smiled and said, "You've been gone a long time, sweetheart." But when I stepped inside the cabin, something was wrong. Everything was the same, but older, dustier. And on the wall, above the fireplace, hung a photo I'd never seen before. It was me, standing by the ash tree, next to Eli. Only, we were both adults, and we were smiling. I turned. The forest was still there, just beyond the window. Silent, waiting. And in the glass, I saw my reflection, but behind me was a child, watching. 9 years old, dirty face, red ribbon in her hair. Me. She smiled and vanished. The forest never forgets, and now, neither do I.